I have been living in my head since I was a child, and I didn't realize that it was such a thing or that there was, like words for it. And the two more common words or phrases for it is limerence, I believe is one of them, and maladaptive daydreaming. But living in my head, as I'm an adult and as I become more aware of it, has kind of ruined my life in a way. And I say that because I realize how much I prioritize it, like weirdly enough. Like I just I I do it so often. And I didn't realize why I did it so often until I started to take a step back and realize when I do it and where I do it. And it's mainly like at home or something. And I'll just be, like pacing around and everything. And I'll be living in a completely different world, you know. Maybe in this world, I'm experiencing a different type of life, you know. Maybe I'm happy in a weird way to say, but yeah. Um, maybe I'm better at just social interactions, or maybe I'm living in a different life of being like really, really successful or something like that while being the same age I am now. And and then I'll realize I'll do it, but I'm also just, in a really happy relationship. And realizing that I do this, I tried to like stop like at a point when I realized I was doing this a lot. And it almost was just painful to like stop doing it because then I would be in like this reality of this is who I am. These are the people I know. This is the circle I'm in. These are the people I'm cool with. And there's nothing wrong with the people I'm cool with. I would say I have, people that, not including anyone that's related to me, I would confidently say I have, one friend, which I don't think is a bad thing at all. I don't think it's bad to have a close knit circle or anything like that. I kind of look at like my dad and just think, about how many friends of his that I may have met. And I think, maybe not many. And I think maybe that was purposeful. Maybe that was like intentional. Maybe that was just like the reality of being like, really being an adult, of not having that many friends. And, that's why it's cool, like, I got one good friend. But then I'll think about, why I'm even living in my head so much. And not even in the sense of I feel like living in your own world, but like just genuinely building up these fake scenarios in your own mind. And then I realize and I think back and it's like, oh, I was in the house by myself a lot, as a child. And then that's why like I do these things because it's like, like if I'm a kid, like elementary school age, and I don't have any friends and I can't leave the house for real, because of how sheltered I was, you start building up these imaginary friends. But the only difference is that, I never talked about them. They were just in my head. It was like I was aware enough to know that they weren't real. But I had to lie to myself that they were to kind of get through the day, you know. And the more I'm on TikTok, not so much the videos on TikTok, but the topic and then the comments of these TikToks will like make me realize like, oh well, like I'm not the only one that does this, because I was reading comments and it was people saying that they do these things, like they do these things too. They think about, they live in their mind, and it's like they're in these relationships with people and they feel comfort and safety and happy in that way. And it's like, damn, it's like I really feel the exact same way. And it's like I don't want to though. It's like I'm aware enough to know that I don't want to feel like that. Like I don't want to relate to it. Like I want to actually experience it in the physical, not just in my head. And then I had read a comment, and it was somebody saying that, when they go to sleep, that they kind of hold a pillow, and they imagine it's a person, and they talk to the person or talk to the pillow, and then like that's how they kind of go to bed. And like relating to that, kind of felt like it kind of hurt, because it was like, damn, like I really do that in a way sometimes. But also, even somebody else writing that down as a comment kind of felt comforting in a weird way, because I always kind of felt like I was the only one that did that, to just feel some type of I want to say connection, but it's not connection. It's like connection, intimacy. It's a word, but I can't think of it right now off the top of my head. But feeling that kind of warmth and that kind of comfort, just to get to sleep and everything. It's like, man, I relate to that. And also just people who also deal with depression and everything, when they talk about how long they stay asleep for, and just how their depression has caused them to be less social and less talkative. And even though I try to be more social and more talkative, I realize like I just can't do it. Like it's like physically hard for me to do it. Like even when I'm talking to somebody, I'll like forget something that I wanted to say or something that I was gonna say, just because I'm just not as used to talking anymore, because of how long I stopped. So now socially, I feel ignorant socially. Even though I can be a great social person, even though I can hold conversations with like my brother or my sister or my mom, it's like when I'm around a friend, or if I'm around somebody I like, it feels impossible. But yeah, that's me oversharing on the internet. Probably, I don't know if I'm gonna upload this or not. I feel like I will, because you know, even if like none of these videos really go viral, which I'm not really expecting them to, I feel like at some point, I think I said this in another video, but I feel like at some point, 10, 15 years later, maybe somebody will like randomly have this video on their recommended, and maybe they'll watch it, and maybe the same way that I felt connected or felt less alone reading those TikTok comments and kind of relating to it, and feeling just a tad bit less alone, because I know I'm not the only person that goes through this anymore. Maybe somebody else will feel that way just from like watching this video. Even though that's kind of a shot in the dark, because these Johns either get one vid or one view, or they get like 10 or something like that. So that's really it. But I gotta continue this thought, the whole living in your head thing. But yeah, y'all take it easy. breezy.